Welcome once again to the old Cow Report. Of course, I'm your host, Chuck Lee, coming to you from the beautiful downtown tire factory and fish farm. And we're glad to see that you made it onto the show tonight and that you're watching us. Of course, we are coming to you live, and that makes the big difference here. Boy, oh boy, we got a lot to talk about tonight on this beautiful, I think this is April now, April 10th, 2000. We're into the 21st century now. It's amazing, but we made it to the 21st century as a world and as a people and as a nation, and so we're going on from here now. Well, as you know, last week we had the big elections, and of course everyone always has their own opinion on who to vote for, and of course some people, a vast majority of people, don't vote at all. I think like 65–70% of the people didn't vote at all in the election, but it never seems to fail. There's only what is there, Roy, about one election average every year, something like that, when it averages out. We got one election a year, and it never fails. They screw it up down there at the courthouse on election night. They can't even count 30% of the people that do go out there and vote and get them in a timely manner. You got to sit around till 2 or 3 in the morning. What time was it, Roy, when you finally found out your totals? It was after 1 o'clock, wasn't it? 1 o'clock in that morning. So that means the polls closed at what, 8? So it took them 5 hours to count that measly 30% of the population who went out and voted. And suppose they got voting machines that are supposed to do the counting. But it never fails. They either jam a machine, or they screw up, or they can't count to 10, or they hire a bunch of illegal aliens that don't know how to speak English. Something screws up every time, and there we go. We wait till 1, 2 in the morning to find out who wins these elections. Then all of a sudden, statistics start popping up, and it makes you wonder. Of course, I'm not saying that there's anything hanky-panky going on, but as usual, another one of their so-called counting machines jammed, and then they had paper ballots that they had to count. But just for my own way of thinking, I would say that since we only do this average of once a year, that they should go totally back to the paper ballot and have people actually sit down and count them ballots out one at a time to make sure that the actual people that we're trying to get elected actually do get elected, and there's no hanky-panky with machines that forget how to count. And always reminds me of back about 1969, 1970 down in Illinois. I remember the county sheriff had a key to all the voting machines in the county on election day, and it was his job to go around and fix the machines, quote unquote. And of course, they always usually got fixed in a certain manner as to possibly sway the vote. But I don't know why a county sheriff was running around when they had the same setup in that county as they did in this, where they have somebody like Joanne Lester that's supposed to be doing all the counting and making sure everything's on the up and up. But this sheriff was going around fixing machines that broke down, and they would tend to break down in the correct areas so that the vote would always come out the proper way. I think that situation has been corrected now. It's 30 years later. So hopefully it is. But boy, oh boy, as usual, do we have a lot to talk about, and tonight is no exception. And we will be taking calls on the cow phone if we get a phone number up here so that you know here what the cow phone number is, and it's scrolling across the bottom there now, 839-6261. And we're going to take our first call right now. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Hey, Chuck.
Yeah.
Where's your sidekick tonight?
I fired everybody.
You fired them all, huh?
Fired Fred. I fired that other guy.
You fired Fred.
Norbert's up on the space shuttle.
Yeah?
So everyone's gone.
Where's Fred?
Fired him.
Why?
Because he couldn't make it to the show on time. I told him that he's been coming down here 20 years, 25 years, and he's never been on time once, so I fired him.
That sucks.
I made him, he punched out for his last time right outside the door here outside the studio. I fired him from giving tours. He was giving tours 24 hours a day. He's been totally fired.
I think you were just jealous of Fred.
Well, whatever, he's gone now. He's fired. So
Chuck, you're the bomb, Chuck.
And when Norbert gets back from outer space, he's fired. That's all there is to it. Norbert coming around here whining about his radios and talking about going to Mars and stuff. Last thing I heard, he hitched a ride on that Mir space station. So I don't know when he's going to come back from that. But I understand that somebody played a practical joke on him and forgot to load up his oxygen in the spaceship. So somebody thought that was funny. All right, caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, I was wondering what district you vote in.
I vote down there at the Votech.
Okay, 'cause over in Ward 81 here, we do have paper ballots.
You do?
Yes, we do, and that's why it takes so long, because they do have to count them.
Well, where I vote, they got a voting machine that counts them, and they know exactly what the count is before 8 o'clock. At 8:01, they know exactly how many people voted and what the count was at that place that I vote. And that's the way it is most of the places inside the city limits, and I think there's voting machines in other parts of the county.
But
So
that's where I voted, they need to take the time to count those, and I'm sure there's other areas that they need to count by hand too. That's why it takes so long.
I would just assume they counted all of them by hand and hired more people for the one night out of the year so that we get a fair, honest vote. Everybody's happy and satisfied, and you don't have to wait because of jammed voting machines. That just, in my mind, that just brings back memories of the sheriff walking around with the key fixing the machines during election day.
All right, well, thank you.
But,
Let's say something.
But do you have to put an X or you put a line through?
A line.
All right. Do you think that where you're voting, what are you, out in the rural area somewhere?
No, we're right in Eau Claire, right over by the Oakwood Mall.
Huh. I thought all the machines inside the city were, all the voting places inside the city were a machine. You must be in Pleasant Valley or something.
We're in Oakwood Hills.
Yeah, that's probably part of Pleasant Valley or something.
Goodbye.
All right, thanks a lot. Yeah, they probably brought them in by mule from out there at Oakwood Hills, down there in Memory Lane and out there in the woods and stuff. They probably brought out the cider and told stories about the old days, and that's why it took so long to get them down to the courthouse. All right, well, we're going to take another call here in a minute, and as you can see right up there in the picture up there, there's a picture of a bicycle on the screen. I'm going to tell you before I take this next call, so hang on, caller, what that bicycle's all about. You can win that Schwinn bike. Now, back in the old days, I remember having a Schwinn with the banana seat on it and the great big, what kind of handlebars are those called, Roy? The big tall ones? You didn't have a Schwinn bike? You had the Montgomery Ward Special, huh? Oh yeah, well I had the bicycle with the banana seat, but it was a Schwinn and very expensive little thing. I used to use it on my paper route, Chicago Daily News. But these Schwinns nowadays are pretty fancy, and there's a picture of it. Let's get that picture up there, Royvan. Let's get that Schwinn picture up there, Roy. I'm trying to talk about that bike. All right. Win a Schwinn from Eau Claire Cycle with the helmet from the Eau Claire Police Department. You can also win Country Jam tickets, a rod, reel, and tackle box from Gander Mountain. Win a Circus World Museum getaway. Family camping from Windfall Lake Family Campground. 4 rounds of golf from Mill Run's Hidden Valley Course, and other great prizes. And what you're doing is you're helping raise money for community television equipment in the Get Up and Go raffle. So there's that bike there. And that's going to be part of the raffle to raise funds here for public access cable television, Channel 11. And it's a pretty fancy bike there. Anyone from I'd say age 8 on up to 80 could ride that bicycle. Maybe even age 7 if you lower the seats all the way down, but it'd make a fine bike for anybody. And it's kind of a mountain bike too. It's made by the famous makers named Schwinn. It's called a Mesa mountain bike from Schwinn. It's a really fancy one there. It's even got the water bottle, and you get a helmet with that too. And that's I understand the Eau Claire Police Department is donating that to the raffle. Now here's how the raffle works. Tickets are $1 each or 6 for $5, and winners will be announced live on Cable Channel 11, your community channel, on Wednesday, May 31st at 8 p.m. Tickets are available at the PAC Studios, And of course, if you know where that is, that's in the old tire factory's 4th floor, through Memorial High School DECA students and from members of the Chippewa Valley Life Underwriters Association. And ticket printing was sponsored in part by PIP Printing and Prepaid Legal Services, Rodney K. Schultz. So there you have it. There's plenty of things to give away, and one of the big ones is this here bicycle. And I'm sure that bicycle goes what there, Roy? A couple $100 at least, doesn't it? $200-300 for that thing. So you can buy yourself $1 or get yourself 6 tickets for $5. That's the best way to go. Buy 6 tickets for $5. That gives you 6 chances to win all these different prizes. Once again, they are a Schwinn bike and a fancy helmet goes with it. Country Jam tickets, a rod, reel, and tackle box from Gander Mountain, a Circus World Museum getaway, family camping from Windfall Lake Family Campground, 4 rounds of golf from Mill Run's Hidden Valley Course, and other great prizes. Help raise money for cable channel 11 right here in Eau Claire. That'll help us to get some new equipment so that Roy doesn't have to run back and forth and keep plugging things in and unplugging things and wearing his fingers to the bone for the last 20 years because the equipment breaks down. So go ahead and come down here to PAC or go to find a Memorial High School DECA student or anybody from the Chippewa Valley Life Underwriters Association. All right, we'll take a caller. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, I was just wondering, what do you think about this new mourning dove hunting season? Do you have any opinion on that?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't see anything wrong with shooting a few mourning doves. If there must be an abundance of mourning doves running around out there, or they wouldn't be even thinking about having a hunting season where you can hunt mourning doves. I'm sure that, from what I understand, they hunt them in other parts of the country and in other nations, and it's just basically another hunt. And if there's that big of a surplus, why not?
Okay, I was wondering, I don't know, have you ever had them, like, to eat at all? You know, are they, like, actually worth hunting?
Very much to them. They're a little bit smaller than a pigeon, and I think I tasted pigeon once a long time ago, and it tastes almost like
like duck, kind of, or not?
Tastes like chicken.
Like everything else, huh?
Yep, tastes just like chicken. There's not much to them though. You gotta probably cook up about 10 of them to get enough for a meal. But let the people decide.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Are you a hunter?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna try it.
I'll tell you, they ought to limit it down to just 22s can hunt them and make it give the bird a chance.
Hunt them with just 22s?
Yeah, 22 rifles. I remember when I was a kid,
that'd probably be more fun anyways.
I had a 22 rifle and I could sneak up on them squirrels and knock them off right and left. I even shot a red fox once. This is back in Minnesota a long, long time ago. I'm sure it was legal because I actually got some bounty money for shooting it.
You did?
Yeah, and
wow.
I think we had to cut the ears off and take those in to a guy. And of course, in Minnesota, there's a bounty on gophers, so I did a lot of gopher trapping, and I shot that fox one summer and got some bounty money out of it. But I learned how to shoot a 22 rifle, and I'll tell you, 22 rifle, you get good at that, you can get good at.
They're real accurate.
Get good at shooting anything.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh, my friends want me to ask one more question.
All right.
What kind? Is that a raccoon on your hat?
Sure is.
Oh, cool. All right.
Still alive too.
What's that?
It's still alive too. Roy, right after the show, Roy feeds it carrots. We keep in the cage right outside the studio.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for calling in. Okay, so there you have it. There's that pretty Schwinn bike there, the Mesa mountain bike, and where else can you get a chance of winning all these beautiful prizes for $1? And the drawing is going to be held live May 31st, so it's not that far away, less than 2 months, 8 p.m. live right here on PAC. It's going to be the drawing, and I'll tell you, that's a good deal there. Some of these others are good deals too. 4 rounds of golf at Mill Run Hidden Valley Course. That's probably, that's got to be $60-80 right there for that. Family camping from Windfall Land Family Campground, that's $40 or $50 probably. win a Circus World Museum getaway. That's going to be 100 or so. Rod reel and tackle box, that could be pushing close to 100. And Roy, you're a fan of Country Jam. What do them tickets go for? 30, 40, 50 bucks? 55 bucks. So there's some pretty nice prizes here just for $1. Like I say, your best bet, so buy the 6 for 5 bucks. You get 6 chances to win. No matter how many tickets they sell, May 31st, 8 p.m., that thing is going to be sold. So there's only a couple hundred tickets in there, and you've got 6 of them. You got a 3 out of 100 chance of winning. So just think of it that way. Cut your odds down by buying a few more tickets. All right, I'm going to take another call here, and then after we get done with that call, we're going to talk about the big controversy on the county board now that the county board elections are over. And did they elect somebody there in the 13th district, Roy? All right, then what's that other one? The 21st district, they're going to have to appoint somebody? Or was there a write-in that bought, the write-in winner one that beat the other guy? He had to beat the incumbent. The write-in guy had to beat the incumbent too. Well, if he didn't beat him, then the chairman of the county board will have to appoint the 21st district because he's not going to let it sit there empty unless he calls a special election. That's pretty expensive just for one district to pull everyone together, especially with them people down there counting the votes till 1 or 2 or 3 in the morning. So we're going to talk about the controversy brewing there on the county board. And when do the new board members take their seat there, Royven? 18th? April 18th, they're sworn in? Do they get sworn in on a Bible? All right. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Hey, Chuck, were you joking about Fred? Were you serious when you said you fired him and he won't be on the show again?
I fired him. He punched out a couple months ago right out here at the time card. I kicked him off the tours. He used to give tours here of the Cow Report studios every half hour on the hour. And we kicked him out of his spot down there where he was making the carp sausage. He's done.
Oh, so it's really the truth then, huh? You're not joking.
He's gone.
Okay. Well, we enjoyed him, but you plan to replace him?
Yeah, we are looking for a replacement. I fired everybody, and that Norbert's fired too. Of course, I don't know if Norbert's going to make it back because somebody pulled a fast one on him and forgot to load oxygen in his spacecraft there on his way to the Mir space station. So I don't even know if Norbert's going to make it up there, but...
Man, you were pretty tough on everybody then.
Yep, I cleaned house.
Yeah, well, okay, well, good luck.
All right.
You can get some good replacement.
Okay, well, thanks a lot. Well, after 20, 25 years, you got to start over, start new, and clean up, and so that's what we're doing. We're starting over fresh right here on the old Cow Report in our 21st season of serving you finer hamburgers right here at the Cow Report. All right, well, we have some sad news from Brazil. Sao Paulo, Brazil. 5 circus lions devoured a 6-year-old Brazilian boy after one snatched him from his father's hand and dragged him into the cage in a tent full of spectators, news reports said Monday. Police wounded 2 people with bullet fragments in the ensuing pandemonium as they sprayed the top of the cage with machine gun fire to scare the lions off the boy's body. The father and his 2 children were touring the cages during the intermission of the Vostok Circus in the northeastern city of Recife, 1,600 miles northeast of Sao Paulo, on Sunday night. He grabbed my son with his paws and pulled him into the cage, and when I looked up, he was in the lion's mouth, the boy's father told TV Globo. Witnesses said the lion lurched through the bars, pulled the boy in, clamped his jaws on his head, and shook him violently. Then the other lions attacked. It took police more than 4 hours to recover the torn body from the cage. 4 of the 5 lions had to be shot. Inspectors told Globo that the circus had breached safety regulations by allowing the public to walk right up to the cages. A circus worker who did not want to reveal his identity told Globo that the lions had not been fed since Thursday. This happened Sunday night. So you had some hungry lions. Saw this little kid, just reached his paw right through there, just like any cat would reach his paw around and snatch a little mouse or whatever, and pulled him right in the cage, bit him right in the neck, as cats, large or small cats will do, killed him probably instantly right then. And then they fought over the cats, the other 4 cats tore him apart. So it's unfortunate. They probably should bring the lion tamers or the owners of those lions up on charges for not keeping them properly fed. So something like that wouldn't happen. Okay, it looks like we got another call, so we'll take that call, and we're keeping that picture of that beautiful mountain bike out there to whet your appetite so that you'll
What's up, Chuck?
get down there and buy your tickets for the raffle. Yeah, go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
You're fat.
All right, well, there's another fine example of the Eau Claire educational system. At least that guy could speak English. And that reminds me, we've had 15 million illegal and semi-legal aliens coming to this country since January of 1993. That's over 2 million a year that Clinton has flooded in here. The Clinton administration, the Democratic Party, has flooded into this country on purpose. Now you might ask yourself, you might ask me, why would the Democratic Party and the Clinton administration want 15 million new mouths to feed in this country, to tax the school system, the prison system? In California, over 50% of the prisoners are Hispanic. It's crowding the school systems all along the southern borders and forcing the school systems to hire all kinds of people to take care of the Spanish-speaking population. Like in Minnesota, there's 150 to 200,000 Hispanics over there that came in the last 10, 15 years. But why would the Democratic Party, the National Party, and Clinton and Gore and his wife Hillary, why would they want to allow 15 million new mouths to feed into this country? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Number one is it upsets the balance in these congressional districts, and the new census is going to be counted here in the year 2000. All these new people that are going to be counted, it changes the makeup of all these congressional districts. Number two, it also changes the voting makeup of all these congressional districts, and it sways the vote in mayoral races, congressional races, state, county, and municipal races, wherever these illegal aliens and aliens have migrated into their enclaves. It's changed the voting makeup of those areas and has swayed the vote in favor of the Democratic Party. That's exactly why they're doing it. So they figured by flooding the country with 2 million illegal aliens and aliens per year, not only do they bring them they brought in 15 million, but out of those 15 million, there's been well over 1 million offspring born. And so what they're doing is they're trying to upset the balance of power in this country, try to sway it in favor of the Democratic Party in the presidential elections this year and also in the elections to come, especially congressional races. In their die-hard attempt to take over Congress, they are trying to force the congressional districts to go Democratic. As an example, in Robert Dornan's congressional district out in California, so many illegal aliens came into that district in just a couple of years' time. Actually, in 2 years from the time Dornan won his last election until the time he ran again, it's a 24-month period. They flooded so many illegal aliens and aliens of dubious, whether they were citizens or not, into his district that he actually lost to a large Hispanic vote that just showed up out of nowhere. There was a lot of fraud in that race too. But that's happening in congressional districts and other races all over the country. So that's one reason. The other reason is the Democratic Party knows by being so benevolent to all these aliens and illegal aliens from all over the world that are coming into the United States, that out of this benevolence and this open door policy that most of these people are going to vote Democratic to pay back our benevolent dictator Bill Clinton and the Democratic Party for being so benevolent and allowing them into this country. So that's some of the main reasons why we have 15 million new faces and new people in this country that we didn't have in January of 1993. January 20th, 1993, they opened up the floodgates. They told the INS agents to turn their back. They said, let them in. There's some places down on the border now where they got shuttle services that run all day long, shuttling people up from the illegal aliens up from the border up into Arizona, farther up into Arizona and Texas and New Mexico to get them away from the borders and the INS guards. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, Chuck, I just want to say that was pretty hard about you ripping on that last caller about the Eau Claire education system. I'm sorry we all didn't have a fine Ivy League schooling like you.
Well, that's your problem, buddy. Why don't you pay for your own education and go to school?
Another thing, that you better tear on that picture of the bike. That's one of the ugliest looking bikes I've ever seen up on there.
That's a Schwinn bike. What do you got?
I got a car.
You got a little Montgomery Ward Special with training wheels? You monk. All right. So don't forget to get your raffle tickets for that beautiful bike there. I wouldn't mind having that any day of the week. It's got a water bottle on it. It's made by Schwinn. It's probably got a fancy warranty on it, a couple-year warranty on it goes with it. It's got those fancy brakes and the knobby wheels for hill climbing and mountain climbing. It looks like it's at least a 10-speed, maybe a 12-speeder. Can't count all those gears. There's so many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's a 10-speed. So it's definitely a nice bike there. All right. We could take another call here in a minute, but I wanted to bring up this controversy that's brewing on the county board. My sources tell me that there's all kinds of campaigning going on behind the scenes right now amongst the 28 or 27 or 29 county board seats, trying to get control of the county board chairmanship. Now, Howard Ludwigson at the present time is in that position, but after every election on the county board, they have a vote. The 29 delegates from all over the county, from their respective districts, come to the courthouse and they have their vote, and they vote on who's going to be the chairman for the next 2 years. Well, my sources, who wish to remain anonymous, say that there's quite a fight going on here in the background between Howard Ludwigson, the present chairman of the county board, and Colleen Bates, who's one of the vice chairmen. Isn't she, Roy? Is she third vice chairman? Third vice chairman of the county board right now. And Bates is lobbying very heavily to become the chairman and to upset the apple cart and to knock Howard Ludwigson out of the chairmanship. And there's several reasons why she would want to do that, even though the county board is fairly stable under Ludwigson's leadership the last several years. The word is that Howard Ludwigson is going to run for state assembly against Larry Balow this summer and fall, into the fall elections in that 68th congressional district. Those of us who have campaigned and helped campaign in the 68th district call it the bloody 68th, because it switches back and forth. It's kind of the northern part of Eau Claire, then it angles up south of Chippewa Falls, goes over to Lake Wissota, then goes over to Thorpe, Cadott, and part of Stanley. And it's quite a district. It has switched hands many times. Dave Zine held it for several elections, and Dave Plombaum got in there and held it for a couple of elections. And I worked on a couple campaigns there where the guy that ran against Plombaum the first time lost by less than 200 votes. So that's it's one of them swing districts that goes Democrat, then Republican, Democrat. So the word is Howard Ludwigson wants to run for that seat, or he's already running for that 68th congressional or 68th state House seat. And so the scuttlebutt is that Colleen Bates and her cronies in the Democratic Party, who they're on the county board, several of them, they would like to overthrow Ludwigson and put Bates in as chairman so that Ludwigson would be embarrassed, so they wouldn't have that chairmanship to put on his resume when he runs for the 68th district. So there could be quite a cat and dog fight coming up the 18th. That's 8 days from now, right, Roy? 8 days from now, the elections will be held at the county board. That'd be probably one to go down there and watch and see who comes out on top. But from what I understand, Ludwigson and Bates are both heavily lobbying the other delegates to try and win that seat. And of course, the Democratic Party, like I say, wants to embarrass Ludwigson and knock him out of that seat. So from what I hear, Ludwigson is campaigning very hard. And Bates and Sue Miller and some of her other cronies on there campaigning very hard. That's why all of a sudden Bates has been appearing on radio and TV talking about the surplus they have. She wants to get her face and name out there all of a sudden to impress people. So now we pull back the rug, and you can see what's going on behind the scenes there. There's an internal fight going on to take over the chairmanship of the county board. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
All right, yeah, I got a question for you. I was just wondering what your stance is on legalization of illicit drugs like marijuana.
Illicit or illegal?
Illegal.
Well, marijuana has a long and checkered past in the United States. Everything from being grown to raised for rope during World War II, and even back in the 1800s, it was raised for hemp, for rope, and other materials that were made from it. It's had ups and downs in the legal department, but in the 20th century, they started throwing the book at people for possession, and then even more heavily throwing the book at people for sales of marijuana. And so we came to a point now where I don't know what the percentages of people in these county and state jails in Wisconsin, but I'm sure it's either several hundred or several thousand people in the, if you add up the county and the state prison population within Wisconsin, you've got quite a few people in there that are in there on marijuana charges for sales mostly. But I think the judges have gone overboard, they're becoming almost, they are becoming too harsh on that. I know a kid a few months ago here right in Eau Claire got 9 years for sales. I don't know how much he sold. I don't think it really matters whether he sold a pound or an ounce. I just think that they've gone overboard on the whole marijuana situation when we have a lot more serious drugs out there, like this date rape drug that's being put in girls' drinks at bars, and we got the crack cocaine. We got a heroin epidemic now because of all the Asian populations came into the country. They're smuggling a lot more opium and heroin into this country. The Russian mafia.
Well, are you saying that there wasn't an opium or heroin problem before there was a large Asian population in the United States?
No, I'm saying that now it's exasperated, and it's even worse now because you got the Russian mafia bringing in a lot of opium and heroin, and you've got the Asians fighting over the opium and heroin trade. Plus, you got the old line French connection and the old line mafia that are still bringing it in too. So you've got some new players that are bringing it in. Plus, to top that all off, you got Mexico that's producing and bringing in Mexican brown heroin now. So that you've got a lot more heroin coming in now than you did 10, 15 years ago, and we've got a heroin epidemic in this country right now. So you got some.
What it kind of sounds like is maybe you're leaning towards or I don't know, maybe not. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but possible legalization of lesser drugs such as marijuana, but still strict enforcement of laws concerning opium, heroin, crack, cocaine, things like that. Is that a fairly safe assumption, or?
No, not legalization of marijuana. There still are some problems with marijuana, but they need to get the hammer off of people and back off a little bit and quit ruining young people's lives. Hundreds of thousands of people all over the country have been getting busted over marijuana, and it's actually increased under the Clinton administration. Some people say Clinton has been hasn't been tough enough on marijuana, but there's hundreds of thousands of people, probably going into the millions of people that have been arrested. I think it is well over 1 million people have been arrested in the last several years on various marijuana charges. They need to come to terms with this whole thing and quit. See, marijuana is the easy thing to bust. It's easy to go bust a 16-year-old kid. And it's easy to go out and raid the same marijuana fields year after year. And it's easy to go bust the same motorcycle gang members year after year because they know that they're raising pot. That's the easy thing for law enforcement to do. And the reason they do it is because it keeps the grant money coming in, and it keeps them in their plush jobs in their so-called fight against their so-called drug war. But when it comes to the hard, getting down to the nitty-gritty and getting down to the hardcore, down to the methamphetamine dealers and the heroin dealers and stuff, they're not doing enough there, and they're doing too much. So they're doing too much with the marijuana. They need to lay off that, lighten the penalties for that, and they need to get tougher on the other end where the serious problems are, where people are getting addicted at age 16, 17, 18 to the new heroin epidemic that's coming through, and the crack cocaine. We know how many thousands of people have lost their lives over the drug wars with crack cocaine and cocaine. And a lot of the new drugs, the designer drugs like ecstasy that are coming on the scene and stuff that cause permanent brain damage. And I just think they've got their priorities in the wrong place. But it's easy, like I say, it's easy for the cops to go out and bust the kids for the marijuana and have the show trials and the photographs and the videos and everything of the big marijuana busts every summer, and I just saw the other day, we're up in Alaska, they busted two guys up there. They busted two guys up in Alaska for growing some marijuana, and they made a big deal out of that, and I think they're facing 10 years apiece. At one time, it was legal in Alaska to be in possession of marijuana. So I think that the pendulum has swung too far with marijuana. They need to come back to reality and quit ruining these people's lives for the rest of their lives, especially in Wisconsin, where every year the state legislature creates more laws down there to make it harder for anyone that does actually get arrested for a felony and does their sentence. And penitentiary means penitence, to pay back to society for your wrongs. Once you've paid back for society for your wrongs, you come out of prison and you don't have anywhere to go except to be a cook or a janitor. And the state legislature keeps passing more and more laws to make it harder for people coming out of prisons to assimilate back into society and be a productive member of society. And that's why the crime rate, that's why this vicious circle keeps going over and over again. They need to break that cycle, come to reality. Some of those potheads down in Madison and some of the alcoholics down there need to get their heads screwed on straight and quit getting so rough on the whole criminal thing. But I know the Republicans get elected every 2 years or 4 years by saying we got to be tough on crime, but they've gotten so tough on crime that now even their own children are getting thrown in jail. And that's the last thing that, pray tell, that they would want to happen. But now even that's happening because they passed so many laws. So the pendulum needs to move back a little bit. The other way now, the legislators need to quit being such hard asses down there in Madison, lighten up a little bit, and come to terms with marijuana, come to reality, start looking at the harder drugs like ecstasy, crack cocaine, heroin, this Rohypnol, this new drug that they're using to rape people with. Some very serious drugs out there. The crank coke, they call it the crank or methamphetamines. That causes some serious damage to your body. That's where they need to go in that direction and lay off the softer drugs, but not legalize them. I'm not for legalizing those drugs. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Hey, Chuck. I mean, you're leaning towards, like, you know, you're for pot, but you see, it should be legal because with our Fourth Amendment rights, you know, being in our own selves, you know, I mean, so you're supposed to be so smart, you should know what our Fourth Amendment rights are. And then with interstate commerce, which the government regulates, and then plus the Supreme Court case, Roe versus Wade, which legalizes abortion, so women can do what they want to their bodies, but other people can't.
Well, how far do you want to go with that? You want people standing on the street corner shooting up heroin?
Dude, it's in their own person. People can do what they want to. This is what this country is based on.
As long as it hurts nobody but themselves, huh?
Yeah.
So we should all be able to walk around with, how about big 45 automatics and blow our heads off on the street corners because we're not hurting anybody but ourselves.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Okay, you want my gun control?
You can't leave people to their own devices because people will degenerate to animals.
Now you sound like a fascist dictator here.
Did Joe tell you to call?
Who?
Joe.
Who's Joe?
Joe Mama! Idiot. All right. Water Street speed traps. Now, I'm sure all you college students that are watching, and I know there's several thousand of you watching because you all wrote and told us you were watching. And I want to just warn you down there, well, school's been out for several months. You probably know it's been out. If you drive a car anywhere from State Street all the way down to where the Water Street bars are, past that, all the way down by the Dairy Queen on Menominee Street there, all the way out to Claremont, that whole corridor, there is a speed trap for the local police to fill up the local coffers down there at the courthouse. And if you don't believe me, go down there on a Monday when they have traffic court and see all the people that get busted. It's a speed trap that the University Police and the Eau Claire City Police, they've used that quarter, especially when you're heading west. You cross the bridge or it goes over the river, and you get down into the college part there and down and start going into Water Street. That's heavily patrolled there, and it's easy pickings for those guys. They're just like sharks. Some people say they're just like carp. They're just like sharks. They're sharks just waiting for you to come over that bridge at 32, 33 miles an hour so they can write you that ticket. So be forewarned that you college students are a source of revenue for the local police, the university and city police, and what other law enforcement are down that way. So slow down on Water Street because They're down there hunting you, especially after you come out of those bars and hop in your car and just weave a little bit. That gives them probable cause to pull you over. So be forewarned that a big hunk of the revenue comes right off you students down there on Water Street, especially if you get busted for driving while intoxicated or driving under the influence. So that's one of the main speed traps. They're hiding all along that area there. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Hey, Chuck, how's it going?
All right.
That's great. I just want you to know that Joe did not tell me to call.
Okay.
Just kidding. Yeah, I was calling. I'm gonna drop the drug thing. I think that's kind of played itself out. I want to go back to the illegal alien thing that you were talking about earlier. If that's okay, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess for starters, I think you're wrong about the whole Clinton administration encouraging more illegal aliens. I think that under the Clinton administration and the Republican Congress, INS and the whole kind of Border Patrol has kind of cracked down, you know, 'cause it's been sort of a big political issue in the 90s. So I don't know if I agree with you there. I also I take issue with something you said about redrawing districts in California. You said that, you know, that Clinton wants to encourage more illegal aliens to come in so that he can redraw the districts and get more support for Democrats. But, you know, if they're illegal aliens, they're not citizens. I mean, they can't vote in elections. So I guess I don't see where that comes in.
There's thousands of illegal aliens in Minnesota and Wisconsin with fake IDs, and they do vote. As you know, in Wisconsin, all you have to do is show up on election day.
Well, you can't just show up, though, because you have to bring something that says that you are a resident, and you have to, you know, I guess I'm wondering where you're getting this information.
You have to bring a heat bill or a driver's license, which are very easy to get once you have the fake IDs.
But, you know, where are you getting this information saying that illegal aliens are voting? I guess that's what, you know, what are your sources?
Okay, here's something that might be of interest to you. This came out of the Leader Telegram today, actually. The survey also found that 52% of farm workers surveyed admitted being in the United States illegally. It's 52% of all the migrant workers and farm workers.
That's because they're being charged like
Okay, hold on a minute.
like $1 an hour.
Hold on. Despite the massive investment in border control during the last decade, that's a nudge upward from the 50% illegal farm worker level found in 1996 and may not approach the real picture. George Daniels, manager of the Farm Employer Labor Service of Sacramento, California, thought the finding was a little low and said undocumented aliens in California's Central Valley may constitute 60 or 70% of the workforce. So that's some of the reason I'm basing it in.
Yeah, but I mean, like you said in the story, money on border control has been upped in the past decade. So, you know, the Clinton administration has made an attempt to try to put, you know, a constraint on.
They haven't made enough of an attempt. They need to have 10,000.
Well, I mean, but then.
Need-
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think that you said that they're encouraging it. You know, I mean, if they're spending more money to try to close the borders, I mean, they're obviously trying to make an attempt. I mean, you can say they're not making enough of an attempt, but I certainly don't think that's encouraging.
Sure it is. Just a few days ago, the Census Bureau, the National Federal Census Bureau made a statement saying that we weren't going to harass the illegal aliens. We want to count them. Now, why would they want to count illegal aliens in this country?
Well, so they can get a hold on the problem and deal with it.
Nobody's going to admit they're an illegal alien.
Well, if they're not a citizen, they're an illegal alien.
Right. So who's going to admit to it? The Census Bureau says, well, we won't harass you. We want to make sure we count you.
Isn't an issue here, too, that businesses are willing to attract these types of workers by paying them so little money? Because
Sure, we got a chicken plucking factory right down there at Arcadia that hires illegal aliens. They've been busted before.
Exactly. And do you think that there are...
I think they ought to go after the owners and fine them about $100 grand.
What about these businesses that have the Republicans in their back pocket who are willing to do anything, who contribute millions of dollars in campaign funds, who are attracting these types of workers?
Who, you mean like
Who go down to Mexico and charge them $1 an hour?
You mean like
That's why this happens, because these people don't have an option. They need work.
Hey, let them stay in Mexico. This is the United States. What's going to happen as
Well, your ancestors,
Listen.
they came to this country for a better life.
the economy goes up and down? We agree with that? We have up and downs.
Well, your ancestors, they came here for a better life. They came here because in their country they couldn't make a buck, and that's the same thing with these people.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, anyway, so the economy goes up and down in this country. We've had depressions, recessions. We have good times, bad times, And it's a known fact that's going to happen. So what's going to happen when the economy takes a dive and we got these 15 million illegal aliens that right now are working these lower paying jobs, $5, $6, $7 an hour jobs, $4 an hour jobs? What's going to happen when they're all out of work? Who's going to foot the bill? Whose tax bill is going to have to go up to pay for it? It's going to be ours, everybody. So what I say is they don't need to be in this country. They need to be back in Mexico or China or wherever they came from. This is the United States. We should have a controlled, I'm not 100% against immigration, but we do have a legal immigration policy, and then we have illegal aliens by the hundreds of thousands that come into this country. They should be rounded up and sent back to their own countries instead of filling up our jails and filling up our social welfare system and taking the money away from the other people that are bona fide citizens in this country. That's where the problem is. They're overtaxing the system, especially in the southern states, Texas, Florida, New Mexico, California, Arizona, Southern California. It's got some very serious problems. The prison system in California has serious problems. All right. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, Chuck. How you doing?
All right. How are you?
I'm all right. I was wondering what your stance was on gay rights.
My stance on gay rights? My stance is a biblical stance, but which says it's not right. But on the other hand, there's several verses in the Bible where it lists several different sins that people do. And homosexuality is listed in that group along with lying and some other things. So it has its place as a sin, just like lying, thievery, murder, adultery. It's a sin, and we're all sinners, and some of us are sinners that are saved by grace. Others are sinners that are lost, and they're going to be lost for eternity. And basically that's where the difference is. You choose your sins, or you can choose not to sin. Homosexuality is just another sin that people commit in their lives. All right. Let's see what happened here today. I hope I got the right side of this paper here I printed up. Oh yeah, I was going to bring this up. Coming up this Saturday, there was this notice of something happening in Menominee. Join the Easter Bunny and his talking Easter egg at 10 a.m. at the Stout Clock Tower Plaza in downtown Menominee. The festivities include an egg hunt, a decorated egg contest, and moonwalk. Now, I'd like to have somebody call in and explain what in the heck's happening to this country, and to the point now where we're celebrating an Easter bunny instead of what really happened on Easter. At Christmas time, instead of celebrating the birth of Christ, Jesus Christ, we have a Santa Claus, a guy in a red beard, jolly old Saint Nicholas, the patron saint of Russia in the Eastern Orthodox religion. Why are we worshiping and begging Santa for certain presents and stuff at Christmas time, at Easter time, instead of what really happened, the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ? We're here chasing Easter, looking for Easter eggs and looking for an Easter bunny. And his talking Easter egg, decorating eggs and looking for eggs and all that stuff. What's that got to do with Easter? All right, we're going to take another call here in a minute, but first I want to let you know that we have a possible health problem right here in Eau Claire. And of course the city county health officials want to assure everybody that nothing's happening, but a worker at the library in the circulation department who's worked there for many years, 13 years, just died of it's a form of meningitis. It's hard to pronounce, but it's a blood infection, and I looked up on the internet and read up on it a little bit, and it is contagious to a certain degree, but you have to be really in close contact with that person and share their blood or their liquid saliva or something of that nature, or you'd have to be right in their face and they'd have to sneeze right in your face. But and normally this affects young kids, children, infants. But this woman was 50 years old. She just died a couple of days ago from meningitis, and that's a serious disease, and it crops up from time to time. But actually, it isn't that
very well, I think it's only like 1 out of 100,000 people get it, so it's kind of dangerous to a certain degree. All right, we'll take another call here while I try to decipher this one. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Hey, Chuck. I just want to touch on the issue of gay rights that a previous caller brought up. I am a Christian, and while I don't agree with you about homosexuality being a sin, but I will argue with you, taking that, let's just for the sake of argument say that being gay is a sin, which I don't think it is, and I'll argue with you about interpretations of the Bible. But let's just say that it is a sin.
Homosexuality is a learned behavior, so it's a sin.
Let's
just like
say that
any
it is
other.
a sin. It's a sin no worse than any other sin. As a Christian, you learn that God looks at sins as all being the same, whether you're a murderer or you tell a simple lie. In God's eyes, every sin is the same, so to put more weight on this sin is wrong.
You put the weight on it, I didn't. All right. Packers' Mark Chmura jailed on assault charge. I'm sure you've all heard about that by now. Maybe you haven't. Green Bay Packers Pro Bowl tight end Mark Chmura, Chewy to his friends out there in Packerland, on Monday faced sexual assault charges involving a 17-year-old girl, police said. Chmura, 31 of Heartland, a Milwaukee suburb, was jailed overnight and was to appear in Waukesha County Court, according to jail records and police. The alleged victim in the case is a 17-year-old girl that Chmura knew, police sources said. The alleged incident occurred during a party following a high school prom. Chmura, a 3-time National Football League Pro Bowl tight end, joined the Packers in '92 but missed most of the season last year because of injuries to his neck. Like I said a few months ago on this program, people got mad at me. I said that you're dealing with people here that a lot of football players end up having criminal problems, they have drug problems, they have alcohol problems, they just have a lot of problems in their life, and a lot of them take it out on the football field, and a lot of them end up with injuries where it causes drug addiction or use of drugs to relieve the pain. And so I said when they got rid of Ray Rhodes, I said good riddance, because they need a disciplinarian, somebody that'll keep these guys in line because they're animals. People got mad at me because I said that, but here's another example of it. These guys need a disciplinarian, a coach that's going to keep them in line, keep their nose to the grindstone, and keep them doing what's right and keep them away from doing what's wrong. And that's why they need to have a strong coach and disciplinarian to keep these guys in line. And when they stray like this, that's what happens, especially these football players. They seem to want to get in a lot of problems, a lot of trouble. All right, we better take another call here. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Chuck, I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you say ass on TV?
I don't know. Can you, Roy? Well, Roy says you can. It's a variation of a donkey.
Seriously? That's cool, dude. Say it once, Chuck. Say it. Say ass.
Well, you don't need to.
Say it, Chuck.
You don't need to have to say that just to impress somebody out there. But according to Roy, you can. And Roy is an official in those areas. He studied the Webster's Dictionary for many, many years. From one end to the other, he knows every word. You can blindfold Roy and ask him any word in the dictionary, and he can tell you what the meaning of it is. But you got to make sure he's blindfolded. All right, the Republican National Committee, and then we'll take another call here. I think we got time for a couple more calls. Republican National Committee came out with a critical issue survey. Of course, knowing the Republican National Committee, I can tell as soon as I get a letter from them that they're asking for money. And they are notorious for sending out hundreds upon hundreds of letters to Republicans. And you can just pretty much expect now probably one every week from now to Election Day from the Republicans. But they send this one out, and I knew, even though it was a survey, I knew on the back that they were going to be asking for money. In this case, they're asking for 25, 35, 50, 100, 500, 1,000, or other. And you can even put it on a credit card now. But the survey, number one question was, do you favor abolishing the IRS? Well, I'll tell you, the lackluster performance of our Republicans in the Congress over the last 6 years, I'm not going to answer that. I'm not going to send any more money to the Republican Party until they get their act together. And they are in jeopardy because of the illegal alien and the aliens that can vote legally, and by the hundreds of thousands will vote this time for the first time in the presidential election. I'm not going to send any money until they get their act together and start standing up to Clinton more than what they have. And they haven't stood up to the IRS. They haven't done anything really serious on the abortion issue. They wimp out most of the time on these gun issues, and they're just a bunch of milquetoast wimps. Newt was the only strong man, and he left in disgrace. He pulled the plug and got out before it was made known that he had been having an affair for 5 or 6 years to one of Steve Gunderson's aides. And now I know why he was so chummy with Gunderson all these years. If anyone hasn't figured it out by now, but Newt's in disgrace now. But when he was on the in there, he was kind of a strong man and got some things pushed through. But these wimps and milquetoasts out there now, if they lose control of the Congress and a Democrat's elected, the Republican Party deserves it because they've given it away. Because they won't stand up to these bums out there, right or wrong, win or lose, they won't stand up and make a stand. They always make their little milquetoast stand here just for election, but the rest of the time they're wimping out on all kinds of issues and compromising and selling out right and left. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Hey, what's up, Chuck?
Not too much. What's up with you tonight?
Oh, nothing much. You know, I was watching about the show about the drugs, you know.
Yeah.
You know, you seem like a guy, you know, maybe your younger days, like to go downstairs, you know, your parents' basement, you know, roll a little doobie and smoke it all yourself. You ever do that before?
No, not in my parents' basement.
No, not your parents' basement? Maybe on the front porch or...
But I have never made it a secret that I, like some liars like Clinton and Gore, who both smoked their way through college, I have not denied that that I've used marijuana. I've smoked marijuana. I haven't for the last 10 years, but...
You like the experiences?
Well, I understand that it's a lot stronger now than it was 10, 15 years ago, but it was just a phase that I went through like other people.
Yeah, another thing, that looks like a pretty sweet bike up there. I mean, I would like to win that, you know.
Well, make sure you get in the drawing then.
Yeah, you know, I know a guy, Nick Schmoke, likes that bike. Nick is a cool guy.
Who's that?
Nick Schmoke. Yeah.
Well, tell him to get his raffle tickets before May 31st.
Oh, there it is.
Huh? All right, thanks for calling. Okay, speaking about losing the right to vote, which a lot of people have because of the drug wars and other get tough situations. I read somewhere where I think in certain states in the country, in 11 states, as a matter of fact, ex-convicts automatically and permanently lose their right to participate in elections. Currently, 1.4 million offenders are denied the franchise right to vote. The only exceptions are ex-convicts who have obtained pardons, which are rare. The states that permanently bar all ex-convicts from voting are Alabama, Delaware, Florida, Iowa, Kentucky, Mississippi, Nevada, New Mexico, Tennessee, Virginia, and Wyoming. The impact is the greatest among racial minorities. In 7 states that deny the vote to ex-offenders, reports the Sentencing Project, 1 in 4 black men is permanently disenfranchised from voting. So that's worse than the old Jim Crow laws and stuff back in the 50s and 60s where black people were afraid to go vote. Here, 1/4 of them can't vote, even though they pay their debt to society. It's fair to say that this policy is the biggest hindrance to black voting since the poll tax. So it's very serious in certain parts of the country. Pay your debt to society, you should be able to vote. And I think they should take the pardon process away from governors and give it to committees. All right, well, it looks like we're down to that time again. I've been your host, Chuck Lee, on the old Cow Report. And we've got about 10 seconds, callers, so go ahead.
Hey, Chuck. I knew a gal in La Crosse who was a Russian foreign exchange student. She voted for your buddy Bill Clinton. So that guy that called up and said that you need something to substantiate it with, there you go.
All right, well, thanks a lot.
Yep.
Well, there you have it. I rest my case. We'll see you right here on the next Cow Report. Adios, amigos and amigas. Have a nice evening.